What is up, everybody? It is Jake back with the MF Film Room. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to be up to date on all things EA college football, hit that red subscribe button. You will not be disappointed. Also hit the like button as well, and follow me on Twitter/X. That fam is growing. If you like college football content, go subscribe to my other channel, Master Football with Jake Posey. The link is in the description. But enough about all that. EA college football time. Let's go. All right, guys, we are about 8 days away. May 16th cannot come fast enough. Not a week from tomorrow, we are going to be in absolute football heaven. So that weekend, that night, that Friday, that Saturday, I literally have to make 1,000 videos. It depends on how deep that they go. I anticipate the fact they said full reveal. The rumor was full reveal. They're going to reveal every aspect of the game, or at least most of it. You can't go into every single specific thing, like the stamina of the backup punter at Akron, Ohio, or something like. Again, you know what I'm trying to say here with the fact that they're going to have a big reveal. All that information is coming out. Up until that point, what do we got? We got a report that there was some renderings from the University of Maryland and their stadium, and then there was reports of the fact that they're going to have lots and lots of dialogue. Chris Fowler came out and said there's lots of dialogue that he's got with the game. We already knew that was kind of happening, but there's not a lot we can kind of go through. So this is going to be my last factual but hypothetical video that we're going to connect with something here, because the world of Madden is going to give us a lot of insight into the potentiality of the functionality. Look what I did there. The potentiality of the functionality with EA college football. And of course, we're going to reference our boy Eric Rayweather. He is one of the biggest experts on Madden. Let's go to his channel because there's a video that I want to bring up that I think we're going to reference here, and it has a lot of insights into it. Let's get into that. So coming over here and you search over Eric Rayweather Madden 24 Reveal Franchise. So you see this video down here about 10 months ago. It says Madden 24 Franchise Mode Full Reveal with Gameplay. I want to actually go through that because there's several different aspects of franchise that I think tie over nicely to the dynasty mode. As you guys know, I'm not, there's that franchise guy with Madden. I'm not that dynasty guy with NCAA, or now going to be EA college football, but I'm mostly there. That's where I'm going to lean towards a lot of my content. But I've got a presentation here I want to go through here because it's going to break down some of those aspects. Let's go. So here we are on the Madden 24 franchise deep dive, the hints for Dynasty. And again, there's several different groups here we're going to go over. There's 7 sections of this. Going to go over training camp, draft class strength, offensive and defensive play call settings, free agent motivations, impact, other draft class updates, and relocation. I think, again, you're right, relocation. Trust me, I'm going to tie all this stuff over here. But remember here, let's start with a couple ground rules about this whole entire presentation. The first one here is some notes before the list. And again, I am fully aware that these are not the same dev teams. I know that. Thank you so much for your contribution for saying stuff like that. All I'm trying to say is that when you can look at this, you look at the functionality in the game, whether or not EA college football has the potential to go to Madden and be like, hey, do you guys have something that functions like this? Do you guys have something that functions like that? You'll be able to see that a lot of those are connections here. Some of them are direct connections. Some of them are kind of indirect connections, but you'll appreciate it here. One thing, too, they said here that Eric Rayweather said in that video that I'm going to link in the description, too, he said sometimes being ultra-realistic isn't necessarily as fun. So I want to make sure that that connects over to kind of like the transfer portal. As an example with the transfer portal, are there going to be 2 windows? After spring ball, the depth chart should be set and players may leave if they don't start. You're seeing that actually within the last week or so, the transfer portal has closed and you're seeing a lot of people entering and signing and going to certain teams here and there. So again, is that going to happen the same way? We don't know. Are you going to be able to potentially trick them into thinking they're going to start and then bench them before game 1, and then they enter the transfer portal at any time, and your promised ability should be hurt? And again, that could be a functionality in the game. There needs to be legitimate consequences to breaking promises. And again, this is just some notes here about the realism. This is not necessarily tied to the video about the franchise reveal, but again, I want to make sure I can bring up some things there. Realistic or fun? Are there going to be no players for non-CFP bowl games? And again, that is a connection here to the video. So the fact that you guys watch, basically, if it wasn't the CFP, a lot of those bowl games, Florida State definitely had a lot of players who opted out and they didn't play. So is that going to be how bowl games are going to be? And again, should there be promises? I already referenced that before. And again, if you're going to have the transfer portal, you're going to have promises. Otherwise, it's going to be hell in a handbasket for it there. And then another thing, too, that I kind of brought up, a smaller point. What about two-way athletes? Is that only way for a two-way player to be is if they are a dog, a.k.a. Travis Hunter, players like that? So again, that's a very small question for a niche player like Travis Hunter. But again, those are some notes really quickly here. I think the more important aspect of this video are these next sections right here. All right, so training camp is important here. So training camp within the Madden franchise. So Madden franchise 24 had training camp, making sure they have the ability to do that. So is that going to be spring ball? Is that going to be fall camp? What are we doing here? Should there be a specific list of drills or just generic training for spring ball? Should there be spring ball? Should there be highlighted players as in training camp? So the thing about Madden is most of the training happens during season, whereas most of the development for college football players happens in the off season. So is there a coaching tree focus for that? Should the training be for specific types? Should there be strength and conditioning training? Should there be technical training? Whoever is in charge of the strength and conditioning team at Penn State is doing a fantastic job. And again, is that going to be a coaching tree focused thing? Should high schoolers be able to enroll early and train to be better? Everybody knows here that if you're a top flight high school football player, you are able to forego the second half of your senior year and enter school early. Is that going to be a thing here? Early enrollees are typically players who want to play. Redshirting may not be a good idea. And again, that is a hypothetical here. But again, training camp, spring ball, it's a function that's in Madden. It's similar, not exact, but it's similar in EA college football. Will we see it? Might not be a bad idea. All right, this should be in the game. So we've already seen this functionality with Madden. It has to be in EA college football. So there's draft class strength, but that ties over to high school class strength. Also could do, should we also do the portal strength? Strength would imply more of these players enter from these certain positions. So if you wanted to be a strong transfer portal class every single year for quarterback, again, you could do something like that. But this should be something that should be in the game based on the fact that it's already in Madden, tying it over, running backs, quarterbacks, do we want to be strong, normal, weak? What do we want to do there? You can edit this out. And again, whether or not it could be random, I don't really know, but I do know that this functionality exists in Madden. Tying it over to EA college football, not a bad idea. All right, this next one here is, I'm going to vent a little bit to you guys here because I'm kind of going off the rails here, but offensive and defensive play call settings. So as an example, here in Madden 24, they've done something. I'll explain why they did it, but we're going to explain it first. It says previously, cooldowns and play call limits were a universal setting that applied to both the offensive and defensive sides of the ball. This year, commissioners will have the ability to apply these limits to offense and defense independently. Unfortunately, I think this is a dumb idea. The reason why I think this is a dumb idea is because this is Madden punting, no pun intended, punting their responsibility to have a fully balanced game in the game. What that means is that there's certain plays that they can't get the computer to stop. They can't get somebody reasonably to stop, which everybody knows there is no perfect play call in football. If the defense knows what you're doing, they will stop it. The same thing should happen here in college football. Some defenses literally run like 5 defensive calls. And again, if you listen to old school Brian Urlacher, when he was with the Bears, they had like 6 plays. So if you're going to have play call limits on defenses, that's kind of stupid. Now, offense, it makes a little bit more sense. But the thing about the offense, especially when you talk about the West Coast offense, was the West Coast offense was designed to be 8,000 different formations, but like 6 play calls. So again, that's something that you have to consider there. I personally think that what they need to do is just make a more balanced game, get their AI kind of set ready to go. I think that's the best way to go. All the way. By the way, everybody here, the best thing to do there, if you ever want to figure out how to stop a play, call that play, go to practice, you call the same play, run the same play that they're running, that the player you're playing against is running, and then call defenses until you have one that you just can't beat. That is your best bet there. Now, again, that doesn't take into account audibles or something like that, but if you've got one specific play, they run it a certain way, find out what's the best thing to do, call it that way. Again, I think here one thing we should do here to help this out was one coaching tree item should be Coach Stradamus. Everybody remembers Coach Stradamus, but they need to make it supercharged. So Coach Stradamus, what it would do before is it would just tell you what the play is. Now, the problem with that is that doesn't help you out. A lot of times when you come across these cheater plays are players are like, listen, I know he's going to run stretch to the left. For some reason, everybody blocks perfectly. He's running stretch to the left. What it should be is basically if somebody calls the same play, you should be able to shut it down. Similar to guess, run, or pass, Coach Stradamus should be able to shut down, should be available to anybody right away, but the level of it depends on your level of your head coach. Basically, the better the head coach, the better your ability to guess the play. In NCAA Football 2014, you have the ability to give a set up play. Well, I think that there should be some similar function for a defense where it's like, dude, I know what he's running. He has 2 plays. He runs this play out of this formation to this side. He does the same thing every single time. It should be able to just shut that play down. That's personally me, though. All right, continuing on here with a couple things that the functionality is already in Madden. It should be able to translate over to EA College Football is the free agent motivations impact / the recruiting and transfers motivations. So we see here on the free agent motivations impact, it says the impact of motivations on player signing can now be adjusted or turned off. Raising the impact makes it easier to sign interested players, but more difficult to sign players with lower interest. Lowering the impact makes it easier to sign players with low interest, but reduces the effects of players having high interest, aka making them more difficult to sign than would have been before. So, this is really important for all. This is a huge thing here if this were to affect the game, because this basically says, okay, dude, if you are taking over Eastern Michigan, listen, I love the Eastern Michigan. Go Max Crosby, I love you guys. But if you take over Eastern Michigan and you go after a 5-star quarterback in San Diego who wants to go to a Power 5 program and start right away, I mean, maybe the start right away part there, but the Power 5 program aspect of the Power 4 nowadays, the Power 4 aspect of that quarterback is not going to kind of be there. So if you were to have this in the game, the recruiting / transfer motivations, it would increase / decrease the likelihood of getting players interested in your pitches. Could be good or bad depending upon your pitches. So if you're a really bad team and you crank it up, that means that the motivations are more important. That means that stadium atmosphere, academic prestige, and playtime would be way more important, meaning that you wouldn't get a lot of those guys, which actually I think would operate a little more realistically. Like, Dylan Raiola. I love Dylan Raiola. He's a great player. I actually look forward to, hopefully Nebraska has a bounce back season this season. But he's a 5-star quarterback who committed to Georgia, then decommitted and went over to Nebraska. As much as I think the Nevada Wolfpack is a respectable program, they should not be able to get Dylan Raiola. It just shouldn't, because he just doesn't match what they're looking for. He's like, I want to start right away. Okay, I want to start right away. I want to play in a big program. Ooh, see, they can't necessarily do that. Having this impact, the impact meter of the motivations in EA College Football and being able to turn up and turn it down just like Madden would be awesome. All right, another one here is the home field advantage toggle, aka I think we should have something called game effects. So we all remember the home field advantage toggle. So it's a small feature that they put in. It says that there is now an on and off option for the home field advantage while playing games, allowing the home field advantage effects to be turned off. Turning this toggle off will turn off home field advantage as well as all M factors. I think that, remember here, this is what I'm saying about college football for a game effects respect. I'm making that name up. Home field advantage is way bigger in college football versus the NFL. You guys remember how many times an SEC team takes a true away game? No, I'm not saying a neutral site game. I'm saying a true away game. It's very, very rare. It's because they know what we all know. Same thing with Michigan. Same thing with Ohio State. Ohio State will do it a little bit more. Michigan, not so much. But you guys understand the fact that there's a reason why they don't do that. Is because they are risky games. Each stadium should have their own effect. Sound, capacity, humidity, weather, altitude, whatever it is. I have some specific examples here. So LSU at night. You play LSU at night, it's going to be popping. Okay, you play Arizona State. Every once in a while they'll have a day game. If you play that, it's going to be boiling lava hot on the field. You play Air Force at their altitude. First of all, if nobody knows how high Air Force is up in the air, it is incredibly difficult to breathe. It's a very tough place to go play and win. And then the Florida Gators, their vertical stadium. I know it's not really a vertical stadium, but the sound is, the stadium was built almost because now they have now they have to have, based on safety concerns for fires and stuff like that. They can't build them straight up and have the strands come straight down. They have to make sure they're built out a little bit more. So something like that. Again, I'm not saying it has to all be the same, but I am saying that how good you are, how many people show up there. The home field advantage should be felt a lot more often depending upon certain things. Again, if you're a freshman, you're a redshirt freshman with 40 awareness and you're playing, at LSU at night, it's going to be a rough day. That's all I'm trying to say. All right, other draft class updates translates from Madden over to updated high school player archetypes. So they say here for Madden, the adjusted weight and frequency at which each archetype can generate each position to more closely match their real life rosters. So it says also to tune the college selection. Okay, I'll talk about this here. One important part here is they said that there's more rare builds like slot corners, scrambling quarterbacks, and deep threat receivers will generate less frequently. The second point here, I'm going to address that separately. It's a completely separate issue. Tune the college selection for top tier quarterbacks to weight bigger schools and more heavily reduce the amount of top quarterback prospects that come from mid-major and lower schools. It also mentions here, it normalized all prospects to default morale level to prevent any ratings changes when viewing players following the draft, and adjusted our generators to accommodate the new jersey number rules. So one thing that's important with that I want to make sure that they do, because the thing about NCAA football 2014 and before, they didn't really do a good job of is sometimes you'd see a guy who's a 5'8", 180-pound running back, and he's a power back. And you're like, what? Or then you'll see a 6'7", 240-pound wide receiver, and he's a speed receiver. You're like, what the hell is going on? Or the number one rated offensive tackle is 6'2", and he weighs 266 pounds. That's just not going to happen. And again, I want to make sure that they update those sorts of things. The archetypes need to be more accurate. The big, tall receivers are typically possession receivers. The short, light receivers are typically slot receivers. And then everybody is kind of in the middle there. There might be the occasional Calvin Johnson, 6'5", 240, runs a 4.3. There'll be occasions like that, but for the most part, everybody fits a certain archetype. I want to make sure that we're clear about something too, about that second line there, the college selection. It's not a point in the game, but top tier quarterbacks in the draft typically come from top tier schools, but star quarterbacks after a couple of years actually come from the mid to low tier schools. I mean, think about Texas Tech, Patrick Mahomes, Wyoming, Josh Allen. You think about Jordan Love, Utah State. The narrative that you have to come from a big school. I mean, Brock Purdy coming from Iowa State, this top flight school, Ohio State, Michigan. Actually, as a matter of fact, there is some evidence to show that those top flight schools are detriments to those players because, again, the fact that they play with a bunch of stars, they kind of get when they go away from all those stars, they actually have less talent on their pro teams. Remember this, CJ Stroud is the exception to that rule, not the rule. The rule is Justin Fields. And then last but not least here is the relocation, meaning there's some items from that I think apply over to Team Builder here. Remember, it says home, away, and alternate jersey and pants. And that's usually what they have with the relocation. You have a home, and away, and an alternate jersey and pants. NFL usually has the same helmet. This is a stock for relocation on the relocation. Could this mean that it's stock for Team Builder? Remember, all EA CFE fans would want multiple helmets. We love the multiple helmets. Also, it is custom in college football to have multiple alternates. The exceptions are Penn State and others. But you guys understand what I'm trying to say here. If they're going to have a Team Builder, relocation already has multiple jerseys built in. And again, I don't even care if you have to pay for it, okay? I would love something like that. But Team Builder, multiple jerseys. We already see it with Madden. Could the same thing come over to EA College Football? The big point about this video is the fact that we see that functionality with Madden, whether or not they could take it. And again, all they have to do is somebody walks across the hallway and they say, hey man, hey Mr. Madden developer, do you have something here, some little code I can use with this? Again, I work with a software development company. People do that all the time. Do you have something that does like this? You have a framework for that, a framework for this. It's something that could apply over. So there's a couple things in there. There's multiple jerseys with Team Builder. We're talking about the ability to have home field advantage effects. There's multiple things in there that I hope they take from Madden over to EA College Football. Hopefully the quality is a little bit higher. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for being here. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Do all that stuff. I really appreciate it. That's it for me, guys. I'll see you guys later. I am out.